Monsieur, does this mean
Warmind cells.
he's back?
No.
It's finally time to talk about Warmind cells. So just to give a history lesson really quick, back in the day, Warmind cells were one of the strongest mods that you could take on any in-game build. The mod Global Reach single-handedly made Ikelos weapons the best primary weapons in the game for act clear, because once you create a Warmind cell, it would essentially just blow up an entire room. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. Imagine being in Golgoroth and shooting one Warmind cell and almost the entire room will die. They used to have that large of a radius and they used to do that much damage. So eventually, with the Ikelos weapons not getting sunset, they had to go out and actually nerf Warmind cells, because if they didn't, that is still what everyone would be running today. But now that it's a Rasputin theme season, I figured I would take a look back at Warmind cells, try to come up with a little build revolving around them so you guys can try it out for yourselves. And just to answer a simple question, are Warmind cells back? Okay, to start off, if you don't know how Warmind cells work, essentially if you get multi-kills with a weapon that can create them, pretty much all of the Warmind themed weapons other than the new seasonal weapons this season for some reason, they will create a small Warmind cell that is just this orange reddish ball. To get them to actually spawn, you will need to equip a Warmind cell mod. So you see, defeating a combatant with a 7 Seraph or Ikelos weapon has a chance to drop a Warmind cell. Multiple copies of this mod do not stack. So that's pretty plain and simple. And then once you get that Warmind cell, there's a whole bunch of different things you could do with the mods. But the main thing is you can just shoot it and it explodes. Now, one of the main reasons Warmind cells is kind of getting back on the map a little bit is because of the fact that they did actually make a version 3 of the Ikelos weapons, and something like the Ikelos SMG is one of the best PvE weapons in the game now with Feed and Frenzy and Volt Shot. So this just means the ability to spawn Warmind cells are going to be even easier now, since one of the weapons that can spawn them are in the meta. Another cool thing is that Volt Shot actually will chain Warmind cells. So the way Warmind cells actually seem to work is if you have the weapon equipped, that is going to count towards the tracker of spawning a next one. So even back in the day, people run things like Wither Horde and then swept to the Ikelos SMG, and as the Wither Horde killed things, it would eventually spawn a Warmind cell. So Volt Shot will play into that as well, since you are technically holding the gun while the Volt Shot's killing enemies. It will then add to that count to spawn a Warmind cell. So with that knowledge, you're going to be able to spawn these like crazy, honestly even faster than it was before when they were meta. Just with Volt Shot being able to kill everything, it is going to be extremely easy to chain these, and when you implement mods into that as well, it gets even easier. Now, talking about mods, there are a bunch of different ways you can go with this, but again, like I said, the main way most people just use it to add clear. And I think this is probably going to be the best setup for that. Even back in the day, this is what most people ran, and the main mod you need to take is Global Reach. This is going to make your Warmind cells you create affect and damage targets at a greater distance. This is the one that gives it a bigger range and does more damage. It is nowhere as big as it used to be, but it is definitely better than the normal Warmind cell itself. So definitely take Global Reach. Now, the other one you want to take is Rage of the Warmind. So it adds additional solar damage to the explosions of Warmind cells you destroy. So this now means that Warmind cell that you're killing is just doing solar damage, which is going to play well into the next mod, which is the Wrath of Rasputin. So solar splash damage final blows have a chance to create Warmind cells. This is where the build rounds up together, because the fact that your Warmind cell is doing solar damage, which in return will proc Wrath of Rasputin, this means that is also adding to the stack of creating another Warmind cell. So now Wrath of Rasputin and Volt Shot are adding to create these Warmind cells, and you can actually just chain them everywhere now if they are constantly getting kills. I'm not even joking when I say the ability to spawn them is definitely way better today than it was back in the day, but the usefulness of them is definitely way less today than it was back in the day. It's kind of a trade-off, but if you are a Warmind cell enjoyer, I definitely would recommend running this setup to get as many as possible. Now, those are the 3 main mods. The other ones don't matter as much, but I would highly recommend taking something like Fire Team Medic. This is destroying a Warmind cell creates a burst of healing for you and your allies near you. This is actually really strong as well. You can blow that Warmind cell up and it will actually heal you a good amount. This is not just like a small amount of healing you get, and since you're chaining Warmind cells everywhere, you're always going to be able to pop these and constantly heal yourself. I honestly would argue that the healing for Fire Team Medic is better than the actual damage itself, and this also heals your allies as well, so it makes your team very tanky, which is very, very good. And then talking about tankiness, the final mod I have equipped is actually Warmind's Protection. So you take reduced damage from enemies that are near Warmind cells. So what this is going to do is actually make when that Warmind cell spawns, if you don't shoot it, all the enemies around it will take less damage. They will glow red, indicating that they are near it. Even if you want to play into the style of act clearing, it is nice to have this, so once a Warmind cell cell does spawn, not only is it a good indicator that, hey, a Warmind cell is up, because sometimes they'll just go off somewhere and you can't see them, but it also allows you to actually get the shots off to blow it up before an enemy can kill you. And then once the Fire Team Medic procs, you will also get a bunch of healing back. And that is just kind of the flow of the build. You just spawn a lot and you get a bunch of damage reduction and healing alongside some ad clear. But now obviously all that sounds good, everything synergizes extremely well, but the main question is it even good? Well, in lower tier content, you for sure can make these Warmind cells work, but you also don't really even need them in lower tier content. Pretty much just Volt Shot itself will be good enough. But if you do want to add the extra killing blow, definitely pop on some of these Warmind cell mods, and they are very fun to use and just see a huge group of enemies explode. It's definitely not the entire room anymore, but once you get this into harder content, this is a 1610 Nightfall. I'm at 1590 right now. Obviously 20 light levels under is going to make anything kind of difficult, but the Warmind cell you see just are not doing a lot of damage. Back in the day, this would pretty much almost always kill these enemies, but now it is just tickling them. And again, this is 20 light levels under, so once I get higher light in this activity, there's a good chance it may kill or get them extremely weak. But in my opinion, it's just not reasonable to run these when you can just take elemental well mines to have infinite abilities, proc Phantomite to get more damage, all that stuff that we already know is extremely strong. I don't really foresee how this will ever just overcome that in harder content. Now, like I said, in easier content, you can definitely make these work, but again, there's really just no reason to not run elemental well based mods unless you just really enjoy Warmind cells. But now I'm not going to end it there, because there are other things we can talk about, and that is the fact that these Warmind cell mods actually do have some really cool benefits. Mainly things like Warmind's protection is very strong. If you can actually just get your Warmind cell to spawn, leave it there on the ground, now everything in the room is just going to do less damage to you, which is very, very nice for in-game content or things like day one raids. And since mainly people are going to be running the Oculus SMG anyway for that content, spawning these in to take reduced damage, honestly not that bad of an idea. Another thing is power of Rasputin, so you gain bonus weapon damage against enemies that are near Warmind cells. This means you can spawn a Warmind cell, again leave it there, and now everybody's going to take increased damage. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong, please correct me in the comments if I am. I think this damage buff does stack with everything, so things like divinity debuffs, I think this is just added on top of that. It doesn't get canceled out. They could have changed that at some point, I'm not exactly sure, but even if it is changed, which I don't think it is still relatively decent, just so you could do some extra damage to enemies. Another fun one is cellular suppression, which says damage in a Warmind cell creates a burst of suppressing void energy. Additionally, you deal less damage to Warmind cells. So this means it's actually going to take your damage side of the Warmind cell and turn it into more a utility based aspect, so you can shoot it a couple times, suppress an entire room, and then you can just leave it there to shoot it again once every other enemy is done getting suppressed. It sort of is like a blinding effect in a way, and it is relatively strong. And then finally, there's a mod called Grass of the Warmind, so you can actually pick up the Warmind cells you create. So kind of what you could do is create a bunch of Warmind cells with Oculus SMG, be able to pick it up. You can then throw it wherever you want, and what a lot of people used to do is pick it up, throw it to get that extra damage with power of Rasputin, and that is a pretty cool way you can use them. Now for Arc, they do have the ability to collect Warmind cells. You can essentially just like pick them up and get some benefits. These never got utilized that much, and honestly is not the strongest. And then for Solar, it's mainly about, you know, add clear and healing. You can, you know, actually add, you know, incinerate damage over time, your burning damage essentially with burning cells. It does not actually apply Scorch, which would be cool if they updated these. I think that would be a cool way to buff them. But then you also have your things like Fire Team Medic. So Solar and Void are by far the best. Void is definitely more utility based, which I think will probably be the strongest in the game right now, being that the Act Clear is just not worth taking if you do have other elemental well based builds with spamming your abilities. But anyway, that's going to do it all from me. I really hope you all enjoy. If you guys do like Warmind cells, if you're currently running them in any setup, be sure to let me know what you're running or what you think about them in the comments below. I really wish we could receive some buffs to these. I mean, even just adding the suppression effect from Void 3.0 and the Scorch effect from the burning cells mod, I think would be a cool way to buff them initially. I wish they would do a little bit more damage in in-game content, but as of right now, this is where they stand. They are okay to run, but they're definitely not the best in the game. But anyways, if you guys enjoy and learn anything new, consider subscribing, drop a like, and turn notifications on. Also, if you'd like to join my Discord or follow me on any of my socials, all of that will be linked in the description as well. But just know watching this video is way more than enough, and that every single bit of support from you all is truly appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching this one, and have a great day. Peace.